Okay, Jim again. Today, if you hear a lot of noise going off in the background, I'm at my business, it's a manufacturing business, and there's machines screaming away out there. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm getting my tea ready for tonight, and I'm going to have tofish. You might have guessed that's fish made with tofu. It's really simple. I'm going to show you the self-battering technique, the way that you can get the tofish to self-batter, so that you don't have to bugger eyes around making up a wet sloppy batter. This is simple, comes out with a real lovely fishy flavour and a super crispy batter. Let's get on to it. Now the first trick with tofu is you get your block of firm tofu or extra firm. This is a firm tofu. Cut it into slices, stick it in the freezer. Then you defrost it. And what happens when you freeze and defrost tofu? It makes it let the water go. Now that's pretty much defrosted. It's still a bit firm, but that'll, those crystals that you see there, the crystals still on that are going to drain out as we press it. Now, you want to press tofu, and the best way to press tofu is between paper with some weight. What that does is get most of the fluid out of it, so when you stick it in your marinade, it absorbs it, picks it up like a sponge. So we stick it in some paper towel, in between newspaper, and don't worry about the newspaper. Newspaper print hasn't been toxic for at least 30 years. But I'm going to stick the paper towel there because I don't want the tofu to get newsprint all over it. So I'm going to fold that over, and then I'm going to weight that down. I'm going to stick the fry pan on top. I'll go and get some more weight to hold it in place. I didn't bring enough in with me, but you get the picture. We leave that sit for half an hour to an hour to squeeze the water out. Actually, what I did is I went out in the factory and scrounged some metal offcuts, the stuff that we use to build the gear that we build. That's got a lot of weight on it, so it's going to give it a real serious press in a fairly short time. Okay, I've pressed that tofu for only about a half an hour, but you can see, that's a lot of newspaper. You can see how wet it is. It's actually starting to soak through on the other side in spots. It's really, just have a look at that. I only read the age, of course. It just gets rid of all that fluid out of it, so it'll act like a sponge and pick up the marinade. Now, I've heard of people making their fish out of crushed up nori and soaking it in water, kelp flakes, all that sort of stuff. I've tried all of those, and look, it makes them taste a little bit salty and a little bit salty, I guess, but it doesn't taste fishy. The only way to get a fishy flavour is to actually add something that tastes like fish, and that's where we make the Vietnamese vegan fish sauce comes in. I think I posted something about this recently. This brand is terrific. It smells like fish, it tastes like fish, it's salty. But fish just doesn't have to taste fishy and salty. The best fish, all the nicest fishes have a nice sweetness to their flesh. So what I've done, and I've used a proper measuring device, I've gone in with 3 tablespoons of that, 2 tablespoons of water, and 3 teaspoons, proper teaspoons, not heap teaspoons, 3 teaspoons of sugar. And that's given it a nice, sweet, salty, fishy flavour. Now that tofu is as dry as tofu will ever get. So I'm going to plonk that in there, and I'm using a fry pan because I'm at work and I haven't got any plastic containers or anything, but improvise, overcome, adapt, that sort of thing. Now I'm going to sit that in there for, look, I don't know, until it looks like it's done. It's already absorbing some, you can see some of the fluids coming up through it already. Because the tofu, see it's wet there, getting wet there. That fish sauce, fishy sugary sauce, is already absorbing in. In fact, I might even give it a flip right away. I'll probably give it an hour, but I'm not sure that I'll need it. See how it's already changing colour? I mean, that grainy look is the telltale sign that the marinade has worked its way in. I'm going to plonk a lid on that and plonk it in the fridge. I'm going to give it an hour just for the sake of giving it an hour, really. And then I'll come back and show you how to batter it. And this is a really easy, fun step that gets such a great result. Okay, that's had about 40 minutes of marinating. Now, way to test if it's marinated or not is you give it if you can just see this, you give it a squish. You can see around my finger, there's fluid popping back out. That means it's fully absorbed all it can. It's not going to take any more, so there's no point leaving it in there any longer. The whole idea of marinating tofu for hours upon hours. Once it's soaked it in, it's soaked it in. It's like a sponge. It's full, it can't take any more. So now I'll show you the simple battering technique. Need some good old corn flour. This is just some bloody, I don't know, $1.20 a bag from Woolworths. Suitable for celiacs because I read the label and it said 100% allergy warnings. Nothing. It's 100% made from corn flour. It's not one that's made with wheat. So we sprinkle on a good spread of the corn flour. Give it a bit of a spread out so it's nice and roughly even. This stuff goes everywhere. Take the tofu out. Just give it a bit of a shake to get rid of any excess surface moisture. Now what we do is we stick it in the corn flour. That's going to go back in the fridge and sit. I'm going to come back and turn that after about a half an hour and show you what happens to it. In fact, before I stick it in the fridge to sit, I'm just going to give it a quick turn because it will have absorbed a fair bit. There's too much moisture dripped through there. So we're just going to spread the corn flour out a bit underneath. See those wet patches? I want to get rid of those. Cover them up. I'll move that. Rub it in a bit. Sprinkle a bit over the top. What will happen is the corn flour will soak into the tofu. The marinade will leach out into the corn flour and it binds it onto the fish basically. And you just let that sit like that. Have a quick look underneath again. No, still too much water there. That is really well marinated tofu. I want a bit more corn flour. This stuff's cheap as cheap. Spread it out a bit. Another dunk on that side. Another dunk on that side. The same with that bit. Spread the corn flour out so it's getting on nice coating of corn flour there. More corn flour. Now I'm going to go and stick that in the fridge and let that sit. I'm going to spread a bit more over the top. There's no real science to this. You want to get a good coating, that's all. And I'll come back shortly. That's been sitting for about 20 minutes, half an hour. It's a bit damp on top. I'm going to give it a little bit more corn flour. Push that over under the light. A little bit more corn flour on there. Really developing a great batter at the moment. A few chunks, get those on, you pick them off, they'll fall off later anyway. Tap that corn flour down. Pick off those couple of chunks. The chunks don't matter, they'll give you a nice big thick bit of batter. Stick a bit around the sides. Spread that over again. A bit more on that side. Yeah, I'm going to pop the wrap over that, put it in the fridge. I'm going to take that home and that will be my tea tonight. I'll film that at home tonight when I cook it. Preparing this at work. My wife is getting a bit sick of me getting home from work, having a beer and filming videos rather than giving her the time she was really due. So I'm getting it done at work in advance so we can spend the night together. Might cook my tea later. Alright, that's going back in the fridge and we'll come back later tonight. You can see how it turns out. Okay, put the oil just on the smoke point, that's about where you want it. Now, I showed you earlier, during the day I set that tofu and let it settle. Now you can see how that batter has just really soaked right in. So let's plonk it in the oil. It's quite hot. So they all go in. We'll get rid of that. And whilst that's cooking, let's knock up a real simple, little delicious, almost a tartare sauce. I've got my cucumber pickles that I keep in the fridge. I make them myself. And chop those nice and fine. Plonk those into a dish. A tiny little bowl, I probably should say. Lost a few on the bench, but I'll just eat those in a second. To that, I'm going to add, well, that tofu fish, I should say, it's frying, a good knob of vegan mayo. I love this brand. That really is a great brand. I just don't know, just tastes great. Yeah, a really good wad. Just stir it around. Just turn the fish, see how it's going. I've got that on the little induction cooker on the 180-degree setting. Ooh. So nice and brown. It's going to be delicious. So we'll stir up that mayonnaise. Add a little bit of something, give it a bit of fun, just for fun. Bit of Tabasco. You can't beat Tabasco. If you don't like it, well, you know, try something else. Good shake of that. Still a bit dry, so let's just go and grab some of the pickle juice. The Tofish is looking sensational. So out of my pickle jar, a little bit. Dessert spoon or thereabouts. Stir it all up. By the time I finish cooking the Tofish, that'll just blend it in beautifully. Poke it off with your finger. That's delicious. Chuck those few bits of pickles back in. Okay, let's have another look at the fish. Yeah, looking great. Good colour. Move them around a bit. Still got the burner on the 180-degree setting. Really good. It's going to take a few more minutes. And we'll come back and I'll plate it up. Okay, we'll turn the burner off now. That fish is done. Now, seriously, look at how crispy that is. Listen, I'll turn the air conditioner off so you can hear it. That fish is just so delicious and crispy. You can hear it. I'm going to drain that on a bit of kitchen paper, paper towel, call it what you like. Just have a look at that. Okay, now I've just made a really simple salad to go with it. I'm going to chuck a bit of the old dressing I keep in the fridge, wanted to make up with a whole grain mustard. Good issue with that. And to dress any salad, I love this stuff. Nutritional yeast. Good cheesy, nutty flavour. Serious sprinkle of that. Might have gone a bit nuts on that, but that's okay. It's so tasty. So, on with that Tofish. A salad on the side. That dressing, I'm just going to taste that again to see if it's right. That's right, alright. And I'll come back and actually I'll just taste a bit first of that fish before I head off and have it. It is so crispy. Oops. I'll get the dressing over. Not sure if you can hear the crunch, but that is crunchy as crunch. Got a nice, light, sweet, delicate flavour. I'll tell you people, that is the business. Get into it.